You're not broken. You are autistic. You're not broken. You are autistic. Yes, you've made it. Part 3 of what it feels like to be autistic. Over the last 2 parts, I've done my best to provide personal insights and experiences into what it feels like to be an autistic person. Of course, all these experiences are my own personal experiences. So really, I'm telling you what it feels like for me to be autistic. But hopefully it provides you with a level of understanding which may lead to acceptance. So let's go.
And now, here's your neurologically different host, Orion Kelly.
Hey guys, it's Orion. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video. If this is the first video of mine you've checked out, well, go and check out the rest if you have time, and please subscribe to my channel. Click that subscribe button, click that notifications bell so you never miss another episode, and rate the video, thumbs up, thumbs down. Or you can also reach out to me on my socials. You can like the Orion Kelly page on Facebook, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and you can say hey on my website, orionkelly.com.au. Now on the website, I've got all my podcasts, okay? Intensely Inquisitive, My Friend Autism, the Aspect podcast I do called A Different Brilliant. I've got my blogs on life as an autistic dad. I've also got links to all these YouTube videos. Plus, you can contact me and say hey. So go to the website, orionkelly.com.au. Now on part 3, we're going to discuss some really interesting topics, including special interests, social interaction, emotions and awareness, and a really big one which I think is super important, and that is diagnosis or even misdiagnosis. So let's do this, my friends. Thank you for sticking it out. I shouldn't say that, it makes it sound like it's a chore. It's been just fascinating. Part 3, what does it feel like to be autistic? And we're going to kick it off with something near and dear to an autistic person's heart, and that's special interests. Interests and passions play a large role in the life of an autistic person. You know, what it feels like to be an autistic person for me is I have my interests and my passions, which is podcasting and vlogging and broadcasting, and also this idea that you should live your passion in life. And that will be your purpose. You should find your purpose in life through living your passion. These are my interests, my special interests. And what it feels like to be an autistic person is the world is getting in the way of me living my special interests. I would do it all day and all night, but I can't. These are my special interests. These are my passions, and this is what I want to do. This is what lights me up. So for parents or carers of autistic kids, once you find what they're passionate about, what they're really interested in, let them live that and then use that to open up the rest of the world to them. Just because someone listens to my podcast doesn't mean they want to know how to make a podcast, or they want to know what goes into a podcast, or they want to listen to all podcasts. But I do, so it's hard for me, I just assume you would too. It's hard for me to know the difference, right? Social interactions are always a challenge for me as an autistic person. What it feels like to be autistic with social interactions is that you're speaking a different language, you don't understand what someone's trying to say to you, it's just awkward, uncomfortable, you don't really want to be a part of it, not because you're rude, but because your brain is just not getting what is being put out, and you just don't know where to start. I know this is a contradiction, that my passion is communicating and broadcasting and doing things for others. Entertaining I've just always wanted to entertain people. I've always wanted to make people laugh, inspire people, inform people, talk to people. I've just always wanted to do that. And you'd assume, well, okay, cool, so that makes you a real people person. But no, because when I do a radio show in a radio station, I'm in a radio studio by myself, talking to a microphone. Sure, I'm talking to you listening, but when I'm talking to someone physically one-on-one, it's very uncomfortable for me. It doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel right. I can't get on the wavelength to make it feel comfortable. I rely on my wife often to take the lead in social situations, which is no different to my 6-year-old autistic son. And by the way, if you're a parent of autistic kids or you're autistic, I want to be very clear. My experience is, like my 6-year-old son, I have to warm up to people. I have to give myself time to mentally enter the room. I can physically enter the room with everyone, but I've got to mentally enter the room before I can talk to people and interact with people and feel comfortable, okay? And that can be shut down in 1 second by someone just being too loud, too boisterous, too in your face, whatever. I mean, I'm out. You will not get me back if that happens. But I guess the point I'm trying to say to the people watching who may be caring for an autistic child or be autistic is this is not something you'll grow out of. Don't put pressure on yourself that you're going to become a people person, man, by learning all these skills. Yeah, whoa. Absolutely, my goal as I go through life is to build on me as a person, is to find more tools, is to improve myself. Of course, I'm not just going to say, hey, I'm autistic, I'm not going to do that. No, that's not the point. To those people you rely on, you are my gatekeeper. That's a big thing. I trust you to keep me safe and allow me to be me when I'm ready and provide me with what I need to get there. That's a big thing. And you don't grow out of it, and you really rely on it, whether it's initially your parents, and then it might be mates, friends, then it might be partners, and then it might be, a husband or a wife. These are people you rely on. It's super important to have that person, for me especially. Emotions and the awareness of emotions plays a big part in my life. So as an autistic person, you don't really have the awareness you need to read the emotions of others, let alone your own. Identify and control your own is a challenge, but to read the emotions of others, for me as an autistic person, can be really, really tricky. And the way I can come across to people when they're experiencing emotions can be quite odd for them. So for example, if someone is really upset and I don't provide them the response they expect from a neurotypical person, that makes me look, heartless or emotionless or whatever you want to say. But it's actually a processing thing. It could have even shut me down. I'm feeling it so deeply and I'm so overwhelmed by it, I just don't know what to do. It's a freeze thing. Some examples: crying doesn't always, or for the most part, doesn't lead to me crying. A lot of people, it does. A lot of people see someone crying and it makes them upset, right? Whether it's on TV, a movie, or in the flesh, it makes them upset. Also, it may make them comfort that person or want to comfort that person or offer comfort. For me, I don't get that. Crying doesn't often make me cry, and I don't often understand, acknowledge, or identify the need or the moment to offer comfort or provide comfort. It's not something that comes naturally to me. Again, it comes across blank. Inside, I feel deeply, profoundly affected by this emotion, but I can't really work out how best to help or digest it or understand it or identify it. It's complicated, but this is the thing, emotions, the regulation, the identification of them, they're tricky for me as an autistic person. I don't feel like I've ever felt or conveyed emotions the way neurotypical people want me to. I don't feel like I've ever provided the right response that neurotypical people will go, okay, you're not a psychopath. Seriously, I'm autistic. I'm not always, or for the most part, going to be outwardly emotional. It doesn't mean inside I'm not profoundly affected. It does, I am. And being labeled by neurotypical people emotionless, it's hard. Ironically, it makes me feel really emotional, but it doesn't mean you're going to see that. But trust me, it's a feeling that I'm having deeply. Personally, I genuinely believe a lot of times, me personally, I can feel and experience emotions significantly deeper than neurotypical people can. But because they exhibit it outwardly, you would never think so. You would think, well, you're just emotionless, and I'm not. The other side of that is the awareness side. I often have no idea that someone's feeling a certain way, that someone is experiencing a certain emotion or has a certain emotional feeling. And it's shocking when they tell me. It legitimately shocks me. So it can come as a surprise if someone is angry about something or upset about something or whatever it is. It's not something that I'm aware of. Like, really? You're angry? What are you angry about? I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were upset. I didn't realize you were angry. I just don't get it. I don't see it. I can't find that awareness. You as an autistic person can live your entire life feeling like you're a bad person, because diagnosis really provides you a freedom to know this is who I am. I'm not a bad person, I'm autistic. And diagnosis was super important for me. Some people go, if you've made it to adulthood without a diagnosis, why do you need one? Who cares? Like, if you've made it, you've got job, wife, blah, 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 what's the difference? I don't understand that point. The difference is I'll know who I am. If you live your entire life not knowing who you are and wondering why you just can't be the person you think you need to be, well then it doesn't matter what else you have or what you've acquired in life. You still deserve to know who you are. And as an autistic person, undiagnosed, it can feel frustrating because a lot of times you can be given diagnosis of things that aren't autism to explain what you're trying to convey to people. So for me, it was anxiety. The first doctor I saw who rejected the idea that I could be autistic and simply said I had anxiety had a profound, a really big impact on me and my mental health. Now, it wasn't that I was fishing for an autistic diagnosis, but I think a feeling a lot of adults who are diagnosed with autism have is they know before they get diagnosed, because you're born autistic, okay? You can't get it later in life. You're born autistic, you die autistic. It doesn't weaken, lessen, wear down, get cured, whatever. You know, adults go, after a long period of time, after living how they've lived and not fitting in and not feeling like they're on the same page and all the different things that add to the diagnosis, I think they kind of know before most people. And for me, I'd already had it brought up by many other people. So getting to the point where I was with a doctor who specialized in it and could actually diagnose it and have that person rejected, for me, it was massive. My wife, in a podcast of mine, so I do a podcast called My Friend Autism. We talk about my diagnosis, and she said her belief was that, you know, I was suicidal. I mean, I was depressed. She was really worried for me after that rejection because she really felt like it just deflated me to the point of kind of giving up on life. And she really encouraged me to, you know, seek a second opinion, just to have it put to bed one way or the other. You know, I felt completely hopeless. I was lacking of any want for life because I thought, you know, after my entire life not understanding who I am, thinking I'm just a bad person. You spend your entire life thinking you're just a bad person because no one likes you or accepts you or rejects you and doesn't agree with you as a person or how you act or interact. It's a horrible way to live. And then if someone rejects a diagnosis that could explain it, well, to me, that was pretty much the end for me. It was the end for me. I mean, the end. So with the encouragement of my wife, thank God, I got a second opinion from someone who was a master specialist in the area, a professor of the field. I was diagnosed autistic by them, but it was funny. I think this is common. They said, look, when you walked in the room, I knew. Of course, we still did all the testing. It took multiple appointments, so it was still a full range of testing. It was such a happy feeling. People always ask, how do you feel about being diagnosed autistic? And it's really interesting. I find that question really interesting because with that, I think they're implying, how do you feel as in, you're autistic, huh? You're not normal anymore. I feel that's what they're implying. Maybe they're not implying that, but that's what it sounds like. Why else would you ask it? I mean, what do you want to know? Why do you want to know? How do you feel like being neurotypical? I mean, there's an answer to that question. For me, I always say I feel amazing. I feel absolutely amazing. I feel free. For the first time in my life, I know why I am like I am. I know I'm not a bad person. I know I'm an autistic person in a neurotypical world. So neurotypical people are going to label me all these different things, bad or brutal or rude or arrogant or what, but I'm none of those things. They're just neurotypical descriptions of how I act as an autistic person, how I don't act like a neurotypical person. And it's devastating for me because professional people, you know, in my employment years, who still just think I'm those things as opposed to an autistic person. And that really saddens me. It's really burned a lot of bridges because I've done nothing wrong. I've just been autistic. But until I got a diagnosis, I never had that luxury of being able to get a level of acceptance or understanding. I was treated like a neurotypical person my entire life. Treated like a different person, a person I wasn't my entire life. I was given rules and parameters to live in that my brain was literally not wired to achieve. I was set up to fail from birth. I was set up to fail from birth. Like, do you understand how that would affect someone? So the idea that you can be diagnosed with other things before you get an autistic diagnosis, I don't think is uncommon. And for me, it was anxiety. So the idea that you can be diagnosed with other things before autism, I don't think is uncommon. And Again, you've heard the impact that kind of stuff can have on me. The impact it can have on you when you still don't know why you are who you are. Being anxious doesn't explain, I don't think, why I just felt like a bad, horrible misfit my entire life. And now I'm so grateful I know why. I was autistic. And that's how you should feel too if you're an autistic person. You aren't bad. You aren't a misfit. You aren't anyone's problem. You're an autistic person. If there's a neurotypical person that doesn't accept you or understand you, that is their problem. You are autistic, they are neurotypical. You're not broken. You are autistic. You are not broken. You are autistic. And after all that, I wouldn't have it any other way. So there you go. That's part 3, done and dusted, of what it feels like to be autistic. If you've missed part 1 and 2, go back and watch them, because across the last 3 parts of what it feels like to be autistic, I've done my best to provide absolutely every experience into what it's like to be autistic. And I hope that watching the first 2 parts and then this 3rd part has provided you with some sort of better level of understanding, which may lead to acceptance of autistic people. Hey, if you've enjoyed them, could you please share them with your family and friends so we can reach even more people? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Do it now, please. Come on, hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you never miss another video. And once you're done subscribing, check me out on my socials. Again, you can like the Orion Kelly page on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. All those avenues are ways you can not only connect with me, but you can say hey. And you can go to my website, orionkelly.com.au, to find my podcasts, YouTube videos, blogs, and a whole heap more. So until my next video, thank you so much for watching parts 1, 2, and 3 of what it feels like to be an autistic person, and I'll talk to you later.